Hey everybody, this is Scott from Lawrence Hypnotherapy and welcome back to video 2 of our Resistant Client course. And so today we're talking about the 10 addiction-causing mindsets that cause addiction to span generations. I've been very lucky having really great clients, and so it's pretty rare that somebody has like such a bad, mindset towards addiction that they kind of fight you along the way, like where you're just trying to help them, they've come to your clinic, and then they kind of, won't follow your steps. And we hear a lot of therapists out there talking about people aren't ready to quit their addiction, which is kind of nonsense. Like, that there's no magical time, obviously, called, now I'm ready to quit my addiction. Like, it doesn't happen. They actually have to change something before they get the result. And the thing they've got to change is their mindset, but how do you get that across to the other person? So let's get straight into it. If you're dealing with clients that sometimes, they can kind of almost put you off the industry a little bit, like that 80-20 rule again, that sometimes one person just seems to drain the life from you or just like suck all the energy because you want to help them, but you're worrying, like, will the next person be like them, or like, why are they so argumentative? They just want a result. Why won't they just do the steps that are, I'm the expert, just follow what I have to say? If ever you have people that kind of really test you, or you find that you're just like not exactly sure how to proceed with that person, maybe you've been a little bit tired, maybe you've been a little bit off your game yourself, these 10 mindsets, these tools, and the way that we flip them, it's going to help you to get back on track with especially that difficult client, the one who you just like, well, you want to help them, and you're like, what are you doing? These are things that have helped me. So let's get straight into it. So as you can kind of see, it looks kind of like the ebook that we put out. So the first one we're talking about, I need my insert substance to get things done. How am I supposed to wake up and get some energy? So you know which ones we might be talking about. It could be the wrong foods, it could be cocaine, it could be caffeine, it could be sugar, cigarettes, usually not alcohol, not marijuana, not painkillers, but anything that's basically an upper. Sometimes your client can be in different mindsets at different times of the day. And so obviously at night, when they're winding down, they think differently, and they can sort of say like, great, I can let go of those morning rituals that involve addiction or involve, bad behaviors. But in the morning, they're going, I've got this whole list ahead of me. I've got this whole day that I've got to prepare for. And you kind of, in a way, you're taking away their coping mechanism to be able to get things done. They want to get the money done, they want to get their kids looked after, they want to get everything done. They go like, look, this is how I start the day. You're not taking that away from me. And so, yes, writing lists and exercise are the top 2 methods to gain energy. So if you want the client to be able to replace what's been taken away, they need to write lists in the morning of what to do, and they need to exercise. But here's the caveat to that, here's the problem. If you tell them, they won't do it. If you ask questions that lead them to that conclusion, they will. And usually the way that we do it is by telling stories and knocking down bad options. And so, like, here's an example. You've got to present people with what we call the bad option spectrum. So on one side, you've got a bad option, and on the other side, you've got a bad option. This helps them to know that you understand where they're coming from, which is more important. Like, maybe you've seen so many thousand people that you kind of go, you potentially have become blasé. I've done this. I've become blasé about it, going da-da-da-da, I know what I'm talking about, so you just do what I say. And it's a risk. But you can't help people, or I can't help people, when I become blasé. I need to get back down into the roots of really listening to people. And this is what really helps people to agree with you, to build rapport, is that this bad option spectrum. So on one side, we could basically say, you've come here for a reason. So like, why is it that you want to let go of these things? And they'll tell you, they'll be like, well, it's for my health. It's, my partner wants me to, or it's costing me too much, or like, I want to get that bikini body, or whatever it is. Or I want, to survive long enough to see my kids and my grandchildren get married, or like see how life goes. I want to live for more years. And so I want to get rid of this substance that I'm using for everything to get energy, to make my, it could be my sales calls, to get started, to look after the kids, to just have the energy to deal with people. And so you kind of, on one side, you kind of go, so if you keep taking that thing, it's going to lead you down a really bad track, and things are just going to get worse, because it is not sustainable for you to keep taking that substance. So on one end of what we call the bad option spectrum, you describe kind of, well, what's going to happen if you keep taking it, and you ask questions to get them to fill in the blanks for you. Then on the opposite end of the bad option spectrum, you talk about, but if you don't have the substance, then you're going to wake up tired, you're going to be tested by life, you're going to be like, well, how do I get my pleasure in the morning so I get a dopamine hit so I can actually charge through the day happily and energetically? Or am I just going to have to like discipline myself to go like, well, life sucks now because I don't get my morning coffee, cigarette, donut, whatever it is they're trying to let go of, or cocaine, whatever it is that they're trying to let go of, or sometimes alcohol, like whatever it is they're trying to let go of. So you've got these two bad options. And this is how you build trust. You talk about the two bad options. But like on one side, it's not sustainable and it's killing your health. On the other side, if you don't have it, you're not really sure how to start your day. Does that make sense? So like you're giving people, instead of you coming from what everybody else does, instead of coming from just one of these 2 points of view, you want to knock them both down. That way people, the client can't really place where your opinion's coming from. And when you bring in a little bit of mystery about where your opinion's coming from, they listen. You've taken away what they were going to argue against you with by saying, well, both are bad options. Absolutely, both are bad options. Take the drugs bad, remove it's bad, then you go, but there's another way. And then you can start to talk to them about this thing, that writing lists and exercise, and get them to come to this conclusion and be like, well, what's a thing that gets you energy? And then you can tell them, writing lists and exercise. Exercise is the only thing that's been proven to give people energy consistently and sustainably. It's not food, it's not cocaine, it's not coffee enough to power a spaceship, but you want to ask questions that gets them to there. The next one. Number 2, are you crazy? This is the only break that I get from my job, the kids, or the people, friends, anybody, or life. It's the only break I get. So this could be the cigarette break, this could be the night out, drinks with the girls, the boys, whoever it is. It's their ultimate reality. It's like, I work hard, friend, bro, sister, whoever it is. I work hard. I work really hard. Don't I deserve this break? 5 minutes away from the kids? We could be talking about clients with marijuana, or people who say, they can't sleep without the substance. And so again, like it's about people and their fears. When people have fears, they don't always listen that well. And so yes, setting boundaries and communication skills will fix this. But again, like ask questions to lead them to that conclusion. It's like an example I like to talk about, the idea that there's this lion outside, like I was talking in the last video, like this lion that's outside and the door's shut and the parent goes out to wrestle the lion, and then the kids, if they open the door, the parent's going to sort of go back inside. They're not going to sort of say, excuse me lion, can I stop wrestling you while I go answer my child's question? But if they're almost as if there's no lion there, then the parent doesn't get a break from the children. The door opens, and so it's like it might not be a lion, it might be a cigarette that they're smoking. And so then if they're smoking a cigarette and the kids come outside and the parents just go back inside. But again, if there's no cigarette there, the parents sometimes get no break from their children. This idea of setting boundaries is that it's like with a cigarette, they can set boundaries with their children, but without a cigarette, they can't set boundaries with their children. Yes, it's kind of ridiculous because the cigarette is not what caused the boundary with the child. It was the communication. And so you've got to, as your job, again, give them those two bad idea spectrums, or that bad idea spectrum. Like on one side, if you smoke or if whatever it is, your lungs will take a very long time to heal. And on the other side, if you don't smoke, your kids will never leave you alone. Once you've kind of busted the nonsense myth of the two being something that they're stuck between, you're like, well, what you actually need is a break from your kids, or what you actually need is that break from your job where the boss won't leave you alone until you've got a device, like a leave me alone boss device, such as a cigarette or whatever it is. When you ask questions, when you zoom out and get big picture, the other person has to be able to say it themselves or else they won't believe it. So if you can get the other person to come to the conclusion that they need to set boundaries, then you're really helping them. Number 3, it's what we do. Insert substance is in the house. My partner has it or takes it. My parents take it. My kids do it. This is a common one where people will say, like, I can't really help it because it's just in the house. Or people will judge me if I quit, or people will leave me if I quit. This is really quite common, that people are afraid of losing their tribe, or losing the rituals. That the whole house does this ritual. Am I just meant to sit by myself, like while everyone else goes outside, everyone drinks, everyone smokes, everyone does marijuana, whatever it is, that everyone else does it, or my partner and I, that it's been our thing for such a long time. People would judge me if I quit, if I don't eat the cupcakes, if I don't, whatever it is, at the birthday party. People will judge me. They'll think I'm a health nut. So yes, picking a fun topic other than the addiction, joining groups and doing something else can be a fast fix. And picking alternatives can be a fast fix. But again, asking questions to lead them to that conclusion. Think about, again, that bad idea spectrum. The two things, you'd be like, if you keep taking the substance, what will happen? If you don't take the substance, what will happen? Ask them those questions and watch how people then see kind of like, okay, they're stuck between this bad idea spectrum of taking the drug or taking the substance and not taking the substance. And not taking the substance means that they're lacking, could be the connection, lacking the ritual. You're like, okay, so you need connection and rituals. Then ask them, well, what's another connection? What's another ritual? Ask them questions and watch how people agree with you. Because this video, it's really not about like me saying to you, this is how you cure addiction. It's more kind of like just asking the question of how do you get your client to be on board with you so that you can cure them of addiction? How do you get them on board? How do you actually get people to agree with you? Number 4, you've got to have some fun in life. So what am I meant to do? Become a robot? Am I meant to never enjoy myself, never smoke, never drink, never have coffee, never have sugar, never have all those things? Cigarettes are usually one that you go like, yes, never have it. Alcohol, if people, unless they intend to never drink again, it's really hard to encourage them to never drink again. Our culture has a fascination and a romance when it comes to sugar and when it comes to alcohol. These two substances that you can watch a breakfast news show and you'll see them vilify marijuana on New Year's Eve. They'll say marijuana is the worst thing ever. And then in the same breath, when they're asking, well, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm getting smashed. I'm going to get drunk. It's amazing that this is what happens. That we really romanticize these two substances. We romanticize sugar and we romanticize alcohol. There's movies about it. There's like, you just see how it's how the boy and the girl met. It's how the family get along. It's how the holidays go. It's how nighttime is. That you have to eat and drink. And people, they'll still eat. People will still drink. People need to eat to live. They don't need to drink to live. But it's in the culture, and it's something that you potentially, unless they come to the conclusion themselves that they'll never drink again, you're not going to convince them to never drink again. When it comes to any other substance, you can pretty much get them to cut it out altogether. So yes, planning an alternative way to enjoy the evening and planning it by lunchtime when you care to plan it, before you're actually ready to relax, meaning before you can't be bothered actually planning it, is a great alternative to addiction or deprivation. And addiction meaning that, like, what is it that the addiction's providing them with? Is it joy and reward at the end of the day? Or deprivation, as in, now I won't have joy, I won't have reward at the end of the day, I won't have any kind of nest to fall into at the end of the day, I'll just kind of be, sad, work through the day, have nothing at night. We don't want people to do either one. We don't want them to be addicted. So again, the bad idea spectrum, addiction versus deprivation, they need this third alternative. So asking questions will lead them to the conclusion, especially if they say it themselves, of planning an alternative way. Plan an alternative way by lunchtime, asking, well, when do you need to plan it by? Number 5. Life is hard, I'm too old. How am I supposed to get by in life? I'm no superhero. So again, like, this is something that people say that, the damage has been done, or I'm so old, I've been doing it for 20 years, I've been doing it for 50 years, I've been doing it for X, Y, Z. I've been doing it for so long that you can't help me. And people really do have this belief that the longer they've had an addiction, the more it becomes impossible for them to ever let go of it. And this is funny, this is true of people who are 25 who've smoked since 16, or people who are 25 who've had another substance like marijuana or something else since 16. Like, I've been on it too long. The 25-year-old believes that. The 80-year-old believes that they've been on it too long because they've been on it since 16. And so it seems to be, it's not how long they've been on it, because the 80-year-old's been on it obviously for a lot longer. They'll be like, I'm not like a 25-year-old who could just let go of it. I'm like, have you met some 25-year-olds? They don't always just let go of it either. Everybody thinks that they're old. It's like my nephew when he turned 6, he's like, oh, I'm getting old now. Everybody believes that they're old. So yes, balancing the rhythm of getting it done and taking regular breaks, it can be a worthwhile adjustment. This is what you want. This is the conclusion that you want them to come to. Balancing the rhythm of getting it done and letting it go. People basically being able to, let's say like one example I like to give. You've got the plates are in the top shelf and the cups are on the bottom shelf in the kitchen. The 90-year-old says, well, my entire life I've had the cups on the top shelf and the plates at the bottom shelf. I can't adjust. If you swap them and you put the plates at the top shelf and the cups at the bottom shelf, they're going to be like, I can't use a kitchen anymore because for 80 years or whatever it is, I've been using a kitchen the other way. And we're like, well, that's nonsense. It's not about how old they are, but balancing the rhythm of getting it done and then taking regular breaks. At any age, you can help a person to build a rhythm. And the rhythm is get it done, let it go. They need to put in the effort in life to get their list done throughout the day. And then they need to put the barriers in life to be able to take the breaks to recover so that they can come back to getting their to-do list done. So when they're saying that life is hard, what they mean is that they haven't worked out a healthy balance yet in getting stuff done and then taking regular breaks. Because it seems to be either work yourself near to death and your addiction is your ability to go and take a 5-minute break or an afternoon break. People seem to, on average, not cut themselves like a 5-minute break or carve out an afternoon unless they're taking something or unless they're drunk. And then they'll be like, now I'll party all night. And so it seems to be most people, they haven't set up a boundary for themselves. So by asking questions, what are some questions that you can ask people? Remember again that two bad idea spectrum, or the bad idea spectrum on one side, it's kind of like, well, keep taking the stuff and see where that leaves you, or let go of it altogether and see how tough life gets without your addiction. Asking them then, well, if you're stuck between like, well, I can't take it and I can't not take it, what's an alternative? And lean them towards coming to the conclusion of, well, I need some method, some trigger in my brain, some kind of reminder that I work or I do things or I fulfill in my project until I kind of not doing it too well, like, kind of need a break, need to refresh, need to energize again, and then get them into some routines of communicating the break, telling everyone to leave them alone, locking themselves in a room for 5 minutes if they have to, faking bathroom breaks if they have to, or doing the push-ups, having lunch if they haven't eaten, having a glass of water, splashing water on the face, walking around the block. And these may sound like common sense, but they're not common practice. And that's why, because you need the client to come up with some of these ideas themselves. Again, always asking questions is going to be your number one method to get people to agree with you. Number 6, I rely on, again, insert substance, to perform my role, my job, my duties at work or home. How am I supposed to be number one without it? A really good question I like to ask people with this is like, why do you need to be number one? Are you surviving? Are you happy? What's number one? Is it ego? So when like we say, yes, health is more important than ego, health is more important than being number one at everything. But the problem is that people, they hold onto their ego pretty tightly. We've had, the point like where we've seen people that they're rich, they're famous, they've got everything that the average person is striving to achieve in their lifetime. So they're at their end game, but they can still feel sad, they can still be hurt by life, and they could feel that if they don't have their position, if they get knocked from number 1 to 2, some people suicide instead of talking about it. Or that like in business, like where people feel that they need to be seen as their journey started off as like, I was poor, then I got rich. And if ever they lose it and have to start again, the same as with me. Like when I had that loss, like with my story, that my partner leaving, taking everything, our life savings, everything, had to start again. It was embarrassing to kind of go, here I am as a business coach having to start again. These things happen. And so sometimes when you share stories, it normalizes it, because a lot of these days with social media and stuff, people are connected online, but they're not necessarily connected. They don't feel connected. So again, asking questions to get them to lead to that conclusion. And not with this one, not just asking questions, but share stories to help them to get to that conclusion. Number 7, I make more friends this way. I take insert substance with my partner. It's our thing. I do it with my friends. I do it with these people. I do it with those people. What do you want from me? Should I just leave everyone and be a hermit? So this is people love their tribes. And you notice, like, when you've got a client and you're trying to really get through to them and you keep banging up against the same wall, they just keep telling you the same excuse. It could be money, time, partner, any of those things. But what you're dealing with is somebody who just really, they're not going to move. So like the frame here, like what the frame seems to be is that when they're talking about the other person, most people haven't really opened up to their partner. Like most people, they go, can I have permission to do this thing? No. Oh, okay, I asked, that's it. But they haven't really talked about if it's important or not. Most people haven't tabled their why. They're just arguing over the what or the how. Like, I told you to do it this way. Oh, okay, but I told you to do it that way. Yeah, but has your client shared why they want to get clean, or why they want to do whatever behavior they're doing? Because most people in a relationship, they get complacent. They get to this point like where they get a little bit bored with the routine. They get a little bit sick of being challenged on things. They get a little bit contemptful or resentful of the other person because they're just butting heads. And they kind of forgot that, like, when they first met, they used to ask each other big picture questions instead of just like arguing over the little details. And so people will argue over the little details, but nobody ever argues over the big details. So yes, rituals with loved ones go deep, but most people would agree to another ritual, but only if the big picture is shared and that both people feel that they have some say. Because what people seem to really hate in a partnership, in a relationship, is feeling as though that the decision's already been made and that they weren't part of the decision process. So again, asking them questions to lead to that conclusion means that your client feels that they were part of the decision process with you. This is what a lot of this is. Resistant clients need to feel as though that they're part of your decision, their decision process, and not just that you're smashing them with advice. Number 8, and before getting into this one again, I just wanted to say again, thank you for being a part of this training, because most people really just don't spend the time to improve themselves, to do any training, to do any sorry, the word I'm trying to say is contemplation. Looking into like their approach, and instead of like just saying like the market's bad, there's no customers out there, all the clients aren't ready to change, sometimes it's us that needs to change, sometimes it's me that needs to change. I know that I've had to, and it's helped when I've really kind of like, for starters, taken a break and look at my emotional needs that need to be met. There's the ABCD that we go through: achievement, breaks, connection, discovery. You'll see that pop up in a lot of our work. When I need to get stuff done, achievement, I need to write lists and I need to exercise. That helps me get through my day. I have vitamin B. I make sure that I've had a bit of food in the morning, a bit of energy so that I don't fall over. B for breaks, I turn off my phone when I have to. When I'm not getting a break, when I've been smashed with questions for 3 hours, at the end of the day I have to turn my phone off. Connection, I need to like reach out to friends. I need to talk to family, friends, to people, join groups and topics. And then the discovery, reward at the end of the day, novelty, pleasure, things that are healthy for me but are also fun at the end of the day. Those are things that are emotional needs for me, for you, for your client, for everybody universally. And so sometimes that when we look at our needs and we see like which one of my needs aren't being met right now, then we can come to this place where we're a little bit more calm, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more flexible with our clients, and we can listen. So number 8, at the end of the day, this is how I put a full stop to the day. Reflect and come back to myself. I'd be lost without insert substance. Have you heard that one before? Have you heard people say like it's the full stop, or it's the way that, it's like, I call it tucking myself in or whatever people call it. They need a ritual. If you take away the ritual for ending the day, then they end up becoming resentful of life. They haven't really integrated their wins. They haven't either shared them or shared them with themselves. They haven't done any journaling. They haven't really kind of stopped and reflected. They don't know who they are. And then what they do is one day they kind of go, what is life for? This is the one that if people don't end their day well, they then feel as though they lack life purpose. So yes, journaling and debriefing are an excellent way to reflect and process the day, but ask questions to lead them to the conclusion. The 2 bad ideas spectrum, on one side, if you keep having this substance, it's like a credit card. You've got to pay it back with sick organs, spending the money on it, and the way that it's damaging relationships, or it's damaging health, it's damaging your money, or it's, why did you come here? And they're like, oh, my partner sent me. It's like, well, it sounds like you care about your partner enough that you came. Or it's costing me too much. Well, it sounds like you care enough about your finances that you came. Or it's that it could be money, health, or relationship. It's like they care enough that they came. So on one side, you can kind of go, well, if you keep taking the substance to end your day, you care enough about your health, money, relationship, whatever it was, that you came. But on the other side, if you take it away, then you're not really going to know yourself. And now they feel that you're encompassing the entire issue instead of being one side of the issue. Here's like the issue that most clients have with a therapist. They feel that their therapist is on one side of the issue instead of being across it all. So it's like, yeah, I can see both ideas are bad, but there's a third idea which is good. And again, asking them questions like, well, how would you end the day? And then you can bring up, perhaps journaling and debriefing, but leave them there yourself. You need to first knock down the other 2 strawman arguments before you can get to this one. Number 9, I can't afford to pay for help. That's for rich people. Health is important, but I still have to pay the bills first. So you notice how it's really easy for people to basically say, I can't afford it. I don't have 2 coins to rub together. I've got to pay these bills and that bill first. But then people buy things all the time. They buy snorkels, alcohol, cigarettes, meals at restaurants, all sorts of things. But when it comes to really investing to themselves, we've seen the common thing. It's not that people don't like investing themselves. They just don't like being pushed into a sale. That's again why asking questions is such an important thing. So yes, health is number 1, and quitting an addiction saves money, even in the short term. But if you push them without asking questions, you're guaranteed basically to get their defenses up. What defenses do is they don't just defend people's money. They defend their decision-making process. And so people love to buy, but they hate being sold. If you create a buyer's mindset instead of a seller's mindset, you're just going to do a lot better. You're going to have people just going at the doctors, they book in. If you sell, then often what happens? People go that's a sales pitch. But how easily does someone just book you in and go let's start with your name, let's book you in, cool, alright, we'll see you then. Or at the end of a session, where you say to somebody, alright, well, when are you available? Do you want a weekday, weekends? Do you want a morning, afternoon? Are you happy to come back in a week? Those questions seem to get people just go yeah, fine, okay, good. Do you want to do another program? It's another 1,500. It's easy if it's casual, if it's a buyer's mindset, but when you get nervous, instead of asking questions, that's when people get their defenses up. It's not that they don't value their health, and insulting them obviously isn't the way to go. Don't you think your health's important? They're going to be well, you're rude, you disrespected me. That's what people will feel. It's so much about feelings. And number 10, this one's really interesting actually. I'm fine, I'm functional, I don't need to quit, it's my choice. Why should you have any say? The best thing really to say here is well, I don't. But either you called or you came, or you cared enough to do those things. You cared enough to turn up. You cared enough to call. What got you to call? Oh, well, my health, my money, my relationships, my partner, whatever it is. Okay, so again, sounds like you really care about your partner, and it sounds like you're willing to do a lot for them. That's really great. Why is this important to you? So yes, they may be deluding themselves, but ask questions to lead them to that conclusion. Don't say book in or else you're stupid. Like, that's what a lot of people seem to accidentally do when they're tired, as like a salesperson or as a coach or a therapist. Asking will get you a better result. Again, that technique as well of like the two bad options, the spectrum of like this bad option, that bad option. Don't quit, upset partner. Do quit, well then everyone's telling you what to do. It's, both are really bad. And agree with the thing, they're getting hit like a ping pong ball between two paddles, between their partner's upset with them for not changing, and they don't want to have other people tell them what to do. And you ask, well, what's important to you and what do you want to do? And it's amazing how people just kind of book in. It's like that appointment program pause script that we use of like, you're calling to make an appointment? Oh, first I want you to tell me more about the program. Yeah, the program is, you tell them what the program is, and then you pause and you let them talk, and then they themselves say, okay, great, I want to book in. And we get like nearly 100% of people who call booking in because we don't sell. We take off our therapist or coach hat, we put on our admin hat, and we just book them in. If that makes sense. Again, comment, ask questions under this video. Next video, what we're going to be doing. Thanks again for going through this training with me, because it's not everybody who will really work on their own contemplation, personal development to become better with clients. A lot of people just sort of give up and go like, well, clients are hard. Next week, what we're doing, you're going to love this. In the next video, how a man who smoked in the shower thought he was too old to quit and tested me with his macho act and he became a raving client for referrals. You're not going to want to miss this. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for being here. Like, comment, share this around if you feel that it's something that was valuable to you, you liked it, and maybe you think somebody else could get some value out of it. We'll see you in the next video.